Well, good morning and thank you very much for stopping by. I'm doing a series all about the pain and pleasure of living a life on purpose, because life truly is a gift. And the journey of discovery to actually find that gift brings up many things throughout our life. There's no textbook, although society has a lot of rules and regulations and rituals and things, but it actually tends to get in the way of who we are. And so today I'm joined by somebody really beautiful, Janelle Fletcher. Hello, Janelle. And she's going to share with us her own journey. So, Janelle, I guess like a lot of us, you're living on purpose. Perhaps you could start off by actually explaining what that purpose is for us.
Well, my purpose, I was thinking just in the lead up to today, Phiippa, about some things in our life that have led us to what we do now. And when I was thinking about that last night, I again was reminded I was always the little girl who cared about other people. And I was always the little girl who looked out for the person who was different or who appeared lonely, or we used to go as a church to the hospital, so I was always the one holding the old person's hand. I was always at that, what they call the mental hospital in those days. What an awful name, but I'd always go and befriend that little kid with IHC. I would always look out for people in the playground who didn't seem to fit in. And I always had a heart for people going through hard stuff. So I never read novels. I always read true stories, biographies and the likes, autobiographies, because I always cared about those real life stories of people who were going through incredibly hard stuff. So, I'd be the girl that read the cancer stories, or the girl gone blind stories, or whatever it was, or a lot of Holocaust stories, actually, truth be known. And so my heart has always been with those who feel different, who feel like they're a misfit, and who feel unseen and unheard, and unrecognized as well, or unvalidated.
So did you actually feel other people's pain?
I did. I'm an empath. I didn't realize that was the word for it at the time, but certainly right. I felt for people's pain. And I think if I looked at my own self-awareness now, I realized that a lot of that pain is my own.
Right.
Therefore, I see it in others. Excellent.
So because for a lot of us, the living on purpose is a reflection to help us with our own journey. And so that gift, your empath gift, is the complete opposite to the actual pain. So what did you actually go through to get to where you are now? Did you think, oh, I know what I'm going to do, or what was it that actually brought you to the point where you are today?
No, the wise woman within me has come through numbers of things, and I don't see them as victim stuff. I just see them as, like you say, gifts that have transitioned me through some pretty hard stuff, but by and large, I've actually transitioned through them pretty well and pretty peacefully. And I think that's what the gift that I teach women now is, that, it doesn't have to be this hugely stressful turmoil situation. So some of those things were when I was 13. This is probably the most critical part of my life. Was I woke up one Saturday morning to the news from my mother that my grandmother had died. And for me, she was the bee's knees. She was my bestest grandmother, and somebody who really cared about me, did things with me, came along with me to my tap dancing and shouted me lollies and all sorts of things. So that news was devastating to me. And I didn't know it at the time until probably just a few years ago, but I realized through a number of different ways and different stories that was the turning point for me, where I did life on my own.
Because what do you mean by did life on your own?
Well, I wasn't supported in my grief because I was absolutely devastated, and my mother wasn't there for me in the way that I needed her, and I'm not blaming her by any means, but I was devastated. I needed someone to hold me. I needed someone to listen to me, and that wasn't there. And I'm guessing that she was going through her own grief, so it's certainly not a blame picture. But what I do realize in hindsight, and this is a recent discovery, is that was the turning point for me to enter into my very independent streak, which has not always worked for me. And also it was a lead into my 11 years of what I call my prison of insignificance. It was my prison that looked like or was anorexia, bulimia, self-loathing, really self-destruction for 11 years.
Wow.
And so those teenage years for me were very lonely, were very painful, were very life-threatening sometimes, because I didn't want to be here. And what I did with that was I excelled. I went into academia, did the good stuff, did the good girl stuff, but was incredibly lonely. So that was part of my journey until 24. And the turning point there was I tossed myself in a hotel room one day and decided that life wasn't worth living anymore, because that pain was unbearable. And I really hadn't called on people around me to support me. And I guess that's what I'm offering women now. I offer that listening ear. I offer that hammock. I offer that landing pad for women who are going through some pretty shitty stuff, to say, hey, I hear you, and I embrace you, and I hug you, and I get you.
And actually it's okay, because I think one of the biggest things is there's so much judgment, and we are it's self-imposed, but all those conditions that we have to do things on our own. And I can so empathize with your Miss Independence, because I'm exactly the same. You know, like, who am I if I can't do it on my own? But actually, particularly women, we are really, really good at supporting one another and making suggestions. Had perhaps if a male, because they're so pragmatic, had suggested that it's not without love, but it's not without that deep understanding what it is on an emotional level, and to have someone support you by your side. So what did you actually do for yourself? I see where you've come to now to help others, but how did you help yourself in that hotel room?
How did I help myself? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. How did I
help myself? Well, I remember waking up going, bugger, I'm still here.
Oh, did you actually attempt to take your life then?
Absolutely. And so for me, that was quite a humiliating experience. And I was put in hospital, and my parents arrived from down south. And again, I grew up in a Christian family, and in a very unemotional family. And so the only response I got from my parents, being my dad at the time, was, trust God, Janelle. And right. God wasn't going to do it for me, and that was probably the path that really led me into my spiritual quest, which my spiritual path and my spiritual sense of who I am now. So that was helpful, that moment, that moment in that hotel room, and also his reaction. But some other things that have occurred in my life that I help women with have been those other transitions that many women have experienced, but many women feel alone in. And so what happened was, when I was 27, I met this man, and he was a widow, and he had 3 children, who were also in the crash, or the accident that killed their birth mother. So I instantly recognized in the night I met him that I would marry him, and within 6 months I was. So that was interesting. So I've had that transition of taking on children and seeing and supporting them over the years in their grief. And those transitions as they went through childhood into puberty, and into teenagehood, and into womanhood now, and even into motherhood. One of my daughters is a mother. To support them through the grief of A, the accident, but B, more importantly, losing their mum, was really key. And again, I sit really comfortably. That's what I love. I mean, a lot of people don't sit comfortably with people who are going through this hard stuff, but I naturally do. And so that was an interesting experience. Another one was, I had these 3 beautiful girls gifted to me, and but also wanted to birth my own child. And but that took quite some time, and again, not an unfamiliar thing that some women go through infertility. But those 5 years in the medical system really helped me get that there's so much more to what's going on for us in our health and wellness. And so medical stuff wasn't supporting me in that. I was a number in the system. And I wasn't also successful in having my own baby. So I got taken down different paths of alternative health and holistic healing, and I'm very blessed to have 3 more beautifuls. So a mother of 6. So that was pretty special. So those things of taking on children, of learning to love and connect with my body again through that fertility track, because that's where I learned the lunar, the moon, and the beauty of natural fertility and our cycles, and listening to our bodies. The pain of losing a couple of babies in there. So again, not unfamiliar for a lot of people or women who have lost babies. But again, I feel them, and I feel their pain, and I also can support them see other possibilities or other routes to what they want. And also I've helped them in the healing work that I have done with women to really get to the undertows of what that is, the emotional undertows, and what other factors, and often grief factors, are causing what they're going through.
And I think it's really, there's a few points that you bring up there. One of the important ones for me, well, there were two, the difference between God and spirituality. So we'll get back to that one, okay? Yeah. But the other one, when you're talking about grief, is when people come to me having lost someone, because I haven't experienced it, I can just be that ear. And I think it's so important for somebody who really understands pain, and is not just sympathetic, because that's not what they need. It's someone, it's a very different skill. And I think if you have felt real pain yourself, that is, you are the best person. And I guess it's those small little things that some people may say it's small and insignificant and get on with it and life goes on, and all those cliche things that we hear. It doesn't help somebody move. I mean, I have a girlfriend who lost her son, and she's explained it's like an elephant in the room. And I really feel her pain. It's nothing like on the level that she does, and it's a part of her, and it takes a lot of courage actually to go to that space where you get the support, you actually ask for the support, and because everybody around you is dealing with their own stuff. Absolutely. And think that you know, well, a year's gone on now, so you should be okay, sort of thing, and it's something that stays with you. So that's amazing, that the fact that you offer real, it's not just empath, it's real understanding. And I think in any kind of guidance, when we're looking for somebody, we need to know that they've experienced, because otherwise it doesn't resonate with us on the same level.
Exactly. And the other token, you know, on the other side, you know, I love this grief stuff, but I also am very good at helping women see a new vision for themselves and a new possibility for themselves. And it just lights me up when I see women going, really, you think I can do that? I'm going, yeah, of course you can do that, you know. And they've, you know, come through their stuff, but I think, you know, a woman's transition is not just these tangible experiences like loss or going into menopause or whatever those, or losing kids or kids leaving home or whatever those transitions are. But I think a big part of a transition of a woman is actually that transition to better self-belief and better self-love. And better connection with their body as well. That's a huge, I reckon that's one of the best, if not most crucial transitions we as women need to take.
Yeah, it's connecting with your body and listening to your body and the message that it's giving you.
Exactly.
In the pain, what would you give us a tip or two as to how we can actually connect to our own bodies?
I do some lovely body rituals. So they're as basic as, I mean, most of us get in the shower every day, but most of us aren't even really in the shower. We're off wondering what's in the freezer for dinner that night, or we're off thinking about work. You know, we're not actually in the shower. So it's about mindfulness. So for example, if I'm in the shower, I am mindful of the water on my body. I am mindful of how I touch my body when I'm cleaning myself. I actually do a body gratitude exercise where from tip to toe, I'm just going, hey, you know, you're just beautiful. I love your face, Janelle. Or, hey, I love these boobs that I've got. They're quite the same as they used to, but, you know, I love them for what they've
served a purpose.
What they've been, you know, what they've been for me and a lover, and what they've been for me when I've breastfed my kids. And so I actually go down my body and I go, hey, what am I grateful for here? So that's a beautiful way of connecting on and to our bodies.
I heard something the other day was along the same vein in the shower, is if you're soaping yourself, is actually to focus on the hand that is the giving.
Nice.
And then to shift your focus onto the part of the body that is receiving. Because receiving is one of the hardest things, and actually to see if you can feel the difference between the two.
And it's interesting, words are interesting, because we talk about us women being great caregivers, which we often are. We're often caring for everybody but ourselves.
Yeah.
We also have that word caretaker, which also has a similar meaning, but it's got that word take in it, so we feel guilty about that. So maybe we should invent a new word, care receiver.
Absolutely. How that's gorgeous. Love that one.
Carer. We'll just have the R on the end for receiver, just to remind us to be carers of ourselves. Yeah. And that's a big lesson that I've learned over years with numbers of kids and what I've been through, that we really do need to care for ourselves. And we say this, but do we actually do it?
Yes. And as women, it's really hard to receive. Very hard to receive. And it's that, I guess it's that deserving aspect of it. Am I worthy of receiving it?
There's that, but I see that receiving, the masculine in us wants to get stuff done and be out there doing stuff. And I think what's happened in society is that women have become too busy.
Yeah.
We've become too active. We've become too, what's the expression? Everything for all for everything, whatever it is. We want to be everything for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's very a masculine energy.
Yeah, and the other thing is that it's one of the biggest lessons, I think, for women and having been that caregiver is actually the most important thing is that you give yourself that care, because when you learn to love yourself and give yourself time and honor yourself, you are have so much more energy yourself. Sure. Because you are honoring yourself, and in that you are actually affecting everybody around you. So if you're walking around like a limp lettuce and just like like a real, really knackered and thinking, I've got to do this, that, and the other, and it's like, can I even go to the toilet on my own, sort of thing. It's actually to ask the people around you, your partner if you have one, or a girlfriend, and say, I need that half an hour, and I want to spend that time on honouring yourself, whether it is the fact that you can go to the toilet on your own, have a bath on your own, or read a book on your own without any interruptions, and to take that each week. And it's actually sucking that in and feeling really good about yourself, and then you're energized and it affects everybody else around you.
One thing that I do with women is what I call a soul nourishment menu, and that is, what nourishes and feeds our soul. So it's not an activity to-do list. It's far from a checklist. Yeah. It's actually a nourishment list, and we sit in stillness together and we just feel into what is it in this moment, because it changes. What is it in this moment will feed my soul? Yeah. And it could be as basic as a piece of music, and I was aware of this recently when my partner's got a great music collection and I don't, and so over the last 3 years since I've been with him, for example, I listen to his music. I love it. But there's sometimes that my soul is thirsty for my own stuff that has memories attached to it. Yes, or it's a different type of music, for example, and I go, I need that, and that will feed my soul. Even if I am a busy mother, and there are plenty of busy mothers out there who say I can't go to the toilet on my own. Sometimes it's not even that time thing. It's just about going, what can occur at the same time, or how can I feed my mind differently in that moment when I am still busy?
And for me, it is that energizing thing. For me, it's our senses feed our soul. So every cell in our body has a memory, and it's really about looking at your environment and enriching your environment, whether that happens to be with music or things around you. Or I noticed a beautiful picture behind you, and that has a memory attached to it. Would you like to share?
Now, this one here is the memory of my son. So I've got six children, 4 girls and 2 boys, and my oldest boy is over in Australia. And it's a whole story of transition in itself, when he left here at age 14 to go and venture into the world and go and hang out with Daddy. And that came at a time for me as a very, I don't want to say attached mother, because there's kind of a negative connotation there, but a very involved mother is what I'd say. Yeah. And that's where my mother heart energy has been, and I've always put my children before any professional career. And to see him decide for himself that he needed to go to Australia was huge, and I absolutely honour him for that. I knew that was coming. It wasn't quite as late as it was earlier than I expected, but God bless him, there he was. So that's a picture of that he made when he was about 4 or 5, I think, but does have a really nice meaning and memory for me. Exactly.
So in your environment, you've got something that actually really feeds your soul. So in those moments, you can make that connection just by looking at the picture.
Absolutely. Symbols are great. Here next to me on the table as well, I've got this beautiful, I don't know if you can see it, but a beautiful red bowl. It's got some gorgeous stones from Lake Hawea and some driftwood.
Oh,
and
wow.
I love symbols, so, and I've often used that in ritual and ceremony with women as well, different symbols. But that for me just reminds me of an experience just recently where my partner and I went down to Wanaka. And, you know, that fed my soul because, it was just the two of us, so we could really focus on each other and just be fully in love without the distractions of everything else going on in our lives. And we just spent this day going over to Lake Hawea. Have you been there?
No, I haven't, no.
So not far from Lake Wanaka. Well, we get there, it's a Saturday. There is not a soul at this lake.
Well, divine intervention.
It's a beautiful blue sky day, and it's just a stunning crystal clear lake with 8-degree water, which we said we must go skinny dipping in.
Did you?
Which of course we did, because why wouldn't you in this beautiful environment? So that this driftwood and these stones just remind me of that beautiful sunny cold water but crystal clear water day where we were absolutely given moments on this crazy planet where there were just the two of us sitting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it was refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
And so symbols, I've got symbols all around the place. And that has been a key part of some of my coaching and healing work as well. It's really valuable to have. And helping women discover what their symbols are.
Sorry, you were talking about nourishing your soul and soul being your spiritual aspect of yourself. So if we go back to what you were saying earlier with so far as God is concerned, how do you separate the two? Are they one and the same for you?
Well, I grew up in the Salvation Army, so very tambourine clapping and I wouldn't say Bible bashing. It certainly wasn't Bible bashing, but it was very mainstream Christian.
Right.
So there were some very clear unwritten rules.
Yeah.
That we abode by, and certainly it was expected of us to be there regularly every week at these occasions and at church, and it became our life in the community. So a great upbringing. I will never regret my upbringing in a religious family, a great community that I belonged to.
Mm-hmm.
But what was missing was the freedom.
Freedom from what?
The freedom to be me, because I was molded into, hey, you have to be this certain way, and if you're not that certain way, then you're not okay.
Right.
Okay, so couldn't smoke, couldn't drink, couldn't take drugs. We took all that, oath. Not a problem, because there's some nice health aspects around it. But to be told that's the way you have to be, and we weren't allowed to dance. I was a dancer.
You weren't allowed to dance.
We weren't allowed to dance, and that was purely. It wasn't a godly thing, but it was the way that particular church was founded in London in the dance hall days. So they were trying to save these people, and rightly so. They were trying to help people with alcohol problems and with prostitution stuff. But there was some real rules around that, and certainly we were presented with a God who sat on the throne and had this big stick and said, "Hey, you're okay if you do this, but you're not okay if you do that." So for me, that was really unfreeing, and it didn't mean a lot because we sang all these things and sang all these songs and did our kind of pious thing, but there was no intimacy and relationship.
Yeah, no connection. And the perception around when you're talking about dance, perception is the key, because it's all about everybody's has a different perception of a word or a ceremony or anything, and so they impose that on us, and then you could have taken it forward with your own children, sort of thing, as well, and that is the point. Is the whole point of the work that we're all doing is actually to liberate people with an awareness as to what their soul needs without and create your own rules.
Exactly, what's important. And one of the big turning points for me, I remember meeting my husband. There he was, Paul McCartney concert, and I fell in love. Well, I didn't fall in love, I just felt drawn to him and knew. And he at the time was reading Louise Hay books.
Right.
I thought he was demonic.
Really?
Really, because of the upbringing that I'd come into.
Right.
And so for him that was doing Louise Hay affirmations and was meditating, that for me was really left of field, you know, that was just, and it was like...
Tree-hugging hippie comes
it was almost, you know, one of those, what do they call it, game clinchers or whatever, you know. It was like, oh, can I really get married to this guy? But anyway, thankfully I said yes, because he was the one that supported me or led me into this journey of discovery and my own divinity and my own spirituality. And so that was pretty awesome. And then and within a short amount of time after meeting him, I had this really interesting experience which really changed my intimacy with myself.
Right. Lovely. Lovely.
And this was, and I've never expressed it like that, but that's exactly how it was, because his wife, who was killed in an accident, within 3 months of meeting my husband, she came to me in spirit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this for me was my first experience of something in that other realm. And I know now it's not in another realm because it's actually this realm. But at that time I went, wow, you know, here she is. And your listeners might say, well, how the heck did that happen? But really what happened is we were just laying there together and I just felt her presence. And I heard her voice. And I'd never met I had never met Annie before, but I'd seen pictures of her, of course, through the girls and their family stories. But this was the first time that I heard her and heard someone in soul. And, you know, a very encouraging message of feeling very happy that Noel, my ex-husband now, but that we were coming together and that I would be taking on her girls as my own. So gifted those girls.
Wow.
I was never to be stepmother to those girls. I was always to be mother, and quite rightly so. And so that was a really interesting experience. It's like, wow, we can call on these people to kind of hang out with us, help us, support us. We don't have to be alone in this world. And I think that for me was a clincher in saying, and every day of my life since, I now have this deep, deep knowingness that I'm not alone. Because that's been my life path, aloneness and loneliness. I know it very, very deep, and I know it very intensely. And even sometimes now I feel it, but instead of getting into that ness of it, of loneliness, I go, hey, actually the truth is not that. The truth is actually I'm supported. The truth is I can ask whoever for whatever. And I will see those signs. And that's how I live my life now.
Because for some people may not have a physical body around them, and it's actually about asking for help outside of ourselves. Because you say, I mean, whether you believe or not, it's actually just the act of doing it will make you feel good, and also is the gratitude as well in that.
Sure.
How have you found that gratitude has enriched your life?
Look, I find gratitude a great thing, but I find it an interesting thing. People have kind of hung on to this gratitude and they do it when they're reminded.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then often it doesn't become.
And they want something.
Become a practice, or it doesn't become an inbuilt way of being for some people. Right. What I find fascinating, though, Phiippa, is that at times I've put out my body gratitude invitation.
Yep.
Online, as we would put hey, let's have our 30 days of gratitude on Facebook, for example. A zillion people respond to the gratitude one, and almost inevitably no one will respond to body gratitude. Really. And I think for women, I almost feel activist about this. I just really want to invite women that it's okay to like your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be public about liking your body.
Yeah.
It's okay to like your body, even if you feel like it's voluptuous, curvaceous, fat, whatever it is. It's okay to like your body and to be grateful for what that vehicle, because it's not you as such, is it? Your body's not you. It's part of it, or an essence of part of you, but it's actually your vehicle for moving through life. And when I just get to the magnitude of what my body's got me through, I go, excuse my language, but fucking hell. I don't normally swear because my Christian stuff wouldn't let me swear. But you know what I mean? I just
it's an expression of self.
You know, if there's one message I can give women today, is the magnitude of what our body has got us through and experienced in our life. You know, we've given birth, we've loved, we've made love, we've traveled the world, we've walked miles, we've lifted things, we've you know, experienced amazing sports activities, whatever. But that is our vehicle. So why are we so painstakingly critical of it?
Yeah.
At a level of, oh my God, my boobs are a bit saggy, or my thighs are a bit big, you know, that. So the body gratitude for me is not just body part stuff. It's actually bigger than that. It's actually how has my temple,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
how has my sacred body or my vehicle allowed me to experience what I have? And, you know, we were talking about rites of passage before, that I reckon a lot of our, what did you call it, hard stuff, shitty stuff?
Yeah.
The gift stuff, you know, that is our vehicle for learning the lesson of love.
And the scars we carry physically and inside are a loving reminder, just like the picture behind you, which happens to be a good reminder. But actually those scars can also be, there is no good and bad. It is a reminder of where we've come and what the different paths we've taken and what we've learned along the way. It's actually using those lessons and not berating ourselves or our bodies for the state that they are in now. Because basically, as you say, our bodies are a vehicle, but they're also a condensed form of matter, because we're energy beings. We can energize ourselves depending on the way that we think about ourselves, and to honor ourselves is just amazing. I love it. Having an intimate relationship with your body is a bit out there for some people, but it's absolutely crucial. That self-love, isn't it?
Well, and it's a choice, Phiippa, and I choose it every day, because if I got into my head, I probably wouldn't choose that every day. But I do choose that at a soulful level, because I know the devastating effects that if I get hooked into self-hate again, I know where that's going to lead me. Right. So for me, it's a choice, and a very conscious choice, that's only what I entertain. Only what I entertain, because I know when I'm loving me for who I am in this moment today, with my frailties and with the great things, when I know that and am secure, and when I'm secure in that, then it's only then that I'll receive willingly.
Right.
That is then that I will enjoy the pleasure that I do with myself and with others. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much that I can have on tap when I love me today.
Awesome.
This moment. Through what I'm going through. And, you know, this morning I woke up in a really foul mood going, ooh, you know, but it's like, no. Or
so what was your pick-me-up today?
Yes, that's how it was. My pick-me-up today was actually a letting go of some stuff. And it's new moon today, and it's a Taurus new moon. And for me, and it's an endings year this year. It's a 9-year.
It is, isn't it? Yes.
And I was just aware of that this morning. But funnily enough, you know, I did have that funny moment. And then I went, well, what's that about? And for me, what's interesting, it's interesting actually. I'm giving away I'm selling some of my jewellery. And my jewellery actually have been symbols of some of what I've been through. Right. So in my moments of sadness, grief and loneliness, often I would go and buy jewellery.
Right.
And some were gifted to me by my husband at the time. I've even got my wedding and engagement rings, which I'm just about to part with. So there's various rings that have meant different things for me. And I went, actually, today's the day that I'm going to let go of that. Not the memory of that part of my life, but just to let go of the energy of that.
And in letting go, how does that help us move on?
How does it help me move on, or us move on? It clears the air. For me, it feels like I clean slate some stuff. I love that clean slate feeling where some of that dross, that's a very old religious word, but that's what it feels like, you know, that dross or that kind of muddy kind of stuff just gets cleared. So I do like that sifting, sorting and clearing, not just decluttering, but clearing the energy of some past stuff.
Absolutely.
For me, it lightens me physically because I have less stuff. But for me, I feel lighter in my body.
And the light side of things is the energy. It's actually, you have lifted heavy energy off you, and so you are less dense, and you're making room for more because you're lighter and you're at a higher vibration to receive what you actually need now. which is
absolutely. And I'm really aware of what was triggering that for me this morning, and it started last night, and it was some angst around some finances and around some lack of support from my ex, for example. And I could have easily kind of gone into that, but I instead went, well, what can I do with that? And that was what came this morning. It's like, you don't need that connection anymore, which I've tried to maintain for my children. But my self-care principle now says, Janelle, look after me first.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. And that's been a big learning curve, especially over the last year, is just going, as much as I would like to protect other people, sometimes that's not in my best interest.
So it's come full circle. You suffered the pain.
Yeah.
And you've empathized with the pain, and you're helping other people. But in helping other people, you have to put yourself first.
Yeah. It's a good lesson. It's a slow learning one for me, but it's a good one.
And it's an awesome thing to share with other women as well, because we all feel it. I can remember when I split up from my husband 8-9 years ago. I can't remember now, but the making the decision to let go was based on just what you said. It's about what my needs are. I have to put myself above everything else at the moment, and if I don't, I'm no use to anybody, basically.
Well, and honouring that soul calling, Phiippa. So we must have left about the same time. 2007. It was an interesting year, yeah.
Yes, it was.
Well, there we go. So for me, it was the recession. So there was some heavy stuff happening in the world.
Yeah.
And for some of us, 2007 was that time. And for me, and it sounds like for you, yes, there was some conscious decision, but there was a soul calling in that. And for me, I had to honour the soul calling, because my soul was dying, and my mental stuff could say, hey, I've got to hang in here because I've still got 4 out of my 6 kids at home, etc., etc. But my soul kept saying, Janelle, it's time.
Yeah.
And this is a great story, Phiippa, because I honoured that. I kept hearing that. And my husband at the time said, oh, come on, darling, we'll go off to counselling. I said, darling, it's not about me learning to do this better.
Right.
This is a soul decision.
Right.
Yeah? And so I said, if anything, I'm going to go down the healing route, just so that we can do this peacefully for ourselves, but then also for our family. And so one morning I wake up and I hear in my head, Janelle, you've got to drive to Birkenhead. And I thought, what the heck do I have to go to Birkenhead for? I had no idea. Anyway, I honoured that intuition, because that's what I help women with as well, and how I live my own life. And so off I went to Birkenhead, and I parked where I found a park, and I ended up parking in front of a healing shop.
Wow.
So, I'm supposed to be here. Okay. So I wandered on in. It wasn't kind of my type of shop. But anyway, I went and I said, look, I'm here for a reason. I'm not quite sure what, but here I am. And this guy sort of said, oh, look, I do healing work. Would you want to come on down? And I've got a space free. So I went, okay. But again, soul was saying, do this. And didn't tend to hang out with men healers. So that was interesting.
Right.
Anyway. Great story coming. So there I was, essentially got me to relax, and within a very short amount of time, I had 3 amazing images appear that confirmed for me that I had done my job. I had done my job well, and yes, it was time to leave. Wow. And we started this interview with me telling you about meeting Annie, so my ex-husband, wife of spirit. She was the one that exited me out of the marriage.
Wow.
So the first of those images, if I can expand that story, the first of those images was a little girl. She was 7 years old, and she was going, Mom, 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 don't leave me. And my youngest daughter was 7 at the time, and I thought, oh, shiver, she knows already. Like, we're very connected, yeah? She knows already. I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. The second image was of this woman. So again, I've talked religion, but so I used to play the piano when I was younger,
right,
in church before. And so the second image, while I was doing this healing work, was of this woman in the States, American woman called Joni Eareckson, and she, as a young teenager, dived into a pool and broke her neck. So very high level spinal injury. She went on to sing and to paint with her mouth. And I love to play her music. Well, anyway, there was this image of her in the healing, and I went, oh my goodness, this little 7-year-old girl that I saw before, that's not my youngest, it's my daughter who's got a disability. So who was injured in the accident, who got a spinal injury. I said, it's all about Gemma. This is all about Gemma. my second daughter that I took on. I think that's fascinating. The third image was actually a song that this particular woman sang, and it was, the lyric is, "It is well with my soul." In that healing within a very short amount of time, I got that I was there in that relationship to bring those 3 girls who I was gifted into womanhood, and then I could leave.
Yeah.
So I made that decision. I honoured that soul calling, not just what my head said, but I honoured that soul calling. And within 2 weeks, the third of those girls left home without me knowing that was going to happen. So my role and my job was up, and I'd done it well, and I got the big thank you. So I was like, okay, cool. Yes, I still had the 3 younger ones to be with. They were still quite young when I left, but I knew that was a new soul path.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, what an affirmation.
Oh, absolutely. Because I came out of my marriage not feeling a failure, and I know for many women they still feel a failure because they haven't really seen the deeper meaning of why they were there in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we can carry around that angst or that continued pattern and then not meet somebody, and we're wondering why we're not meeting somebody. But maybe we just need to go, hey, what was that about, that first one, and see the truth of that first one.
Yeah. And
see the role you played in that first one, and the lessons, the learnings, and why you're out of it, and not to see that as a failure.
Fantastic.
Imagine what that could open up for women in terms
absolutely,
of
absolutely.
meeting someone.
And even you were fortunate in the fact that your partner understood that you wanted to go the healing route. But for many women, their partners don't even understand the concept or wouldn't entertain it. And I put my hand up to being one of those, and it was very hard to explain to someone about your soul calling. And in order, I think I said to him and to my children, I love you enough to let you go because our paths are moving in different directions now, and unless we all have an understanding, but there's stuff that gets in the way, and we have to honor ourselves not to save other people or to prop them up. And I think this is, it's a good way to finish, in as much as that is the whole point. It's all about ourselves in a selfless way. So what advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self? If I had to go back there or now?
now as a wise woman.
You are enough. You are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually fabulous. You're actually fabulous. And this is coming. Know that it's not about being big, but it's about being truly you. Interesting where that came from.
yeah. And I think that being big is if we have to make a big noise in the world, whatever that happens to be, because we're pressured to measure up. But in essence, it's all about being us and finding the gift inside us. So are you happy living on purpose now?
I am happy living on purpose. It looks very different to how I imagine it, but I get up each day sometimes not knowing what that is.
Yeah.
But I know that, and actually, as I think about it, how we started this conversation today, when I was young, I would be the one that goes and sits with people, talks with people, holds their hand. And that is actually still what I do. And that's the way that I serve people the best. And
it's the courage to do that, but in the word courage, because I just love words, and the energy within words is pure, which is your heart.
It is.
And it is about, and thank goodness for people like yourself who are aware and take the time to go and sit with people like that, because there's a lot of people trying to be big and are very blinkered in life, and we are a one family. And the collective energy really helps us all. And in truth, we've all made fuck ups, and it's lovely to think that actually I have a fellow woman you know, our tribe have a real understanding and empathy as to what it is, that it's okay just to be, and there's so much beauty just being and going and flowing and not trying to prove anything, be anything to anybody else like that. So yes, thank you. We are all enough, and I really thank you for your time today. It's been fantastic, and I'm sure everybody has lots of little nuggets in there that you have shared with us. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.
Take care, Janelle. Bye.